WNST.net. We had some fights going on Tuesday night down at Camden Yards when the baseball game broke out with Manny Machado and Yordano Ventura. My next guest has been in some fights and has sanctioned some fights and has answered to the media in certain ways, and I've known him for the better part of 2 decades. You may remember him from the Las Vegas Athletic Commission and the parachute guy coming in. He is currently the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs with the Ultimate Fighting Championship in UFC, and he is going into the Boxing Hall of Fame in Conestoga, New York this week, and you can read about that at the LA Times. He is Marc Ratner. Welcome back in, Rat. It's been too long. What's happening, man?
Well, Nestor, no, it was great when I got the email. I haven't talked to you for a while, and I'm very happy to. And Baltimore, great city, and we need from the UFC need to come back there one of these days.
You know what, man? My wife has battled leukemia twice in the last 2 years, and we go sort of around the world saving lives and getting swabs and Q-tips. That's how her life was saved. So I got to talk to a UFC guy, and I happen to know one. It's kind of cool. But, one life that brings us together, I think brings everybody together, Mark, is Muhammad Ali. And when he passed on Saturday, the amount of writing I saw on Saturday and Sunday in these eloquent, deep, thoughtful, thought-provoking pieces on his life, his journey, all of it around it. And, a guy like you that's made your dough in and around the fight game for a long time, and lots of Vegas was built out there off of these fights in the early days of Ali. I'm sure it kind of shook Vegas up. A lot of people out there with a lot of ties to Muhammad Ali, right?
Oh, absolutely. He fought here in Las Vegas, I believe it was 7 times, and 1 in Lake Tahoe. So he fought in Nevada 8 times. And I was blessed enough to see, I think, everything but the Tahoe fight. First time I saw him fight, he was Cassius Clay then. It was his 7th fight. He fought a guy named Duke Sabadong, which nobody will ever remember. I went 10 rounds, easy decision. He won every round. But at that time, he was Cassius Clay. And I saw him fight Floyd Patterson. I saw him fight Joe Bugner. But one of my favorite doubleheaders, he and Bobby Foster, who was the light heavyweight champion, fought the Quarry Brothers, and the name of the fight was the Soul Brothers versus the Quarry Brothers, and obviously both Ali and Bobby Foster won the fights easy. Well,
it's you said you were at the Bugner fight?
Yep.
In Kuala Lumpur.
No, the Bugner fought him here in Las Vegas.
Okay, I was looking up and down through Wikipedia, and I probably should get a more a better look at it, but it was unbelievable, even in the 70s, how many fights he took. In my childhood, I remember Lyle and I remember Wepner. Jean-Pierre Koopman, who? Puerto Rico, what? Jimmy Young, I remember that fight in the Evangelista fight. Now, I'm from Baltimore. I had neighbors that went to those fights. And I remember seeing the old Capitol Center ticket stubs and stuff. I wasn't aware that he even fought in Richfield and Cleveland. And Phil Jackman brought up some memories, about all that sort of stuff. And, when you think back on Ali's career and what he did for the game of boxing, I guess the real impact was not just that, but also the media side of Cosell. I said much of what we expect from an athlete now comes a little bit from Muhammad Ali, right?
No, absolutely, and he learned from Gorgeous George. I think before he fought this fight at the Convention Center in 1961, he went to a big wrestling match where he had watched wrestling and saw this Gorgeous George, and with the robes and the big pompadour and the way he talked, and I think that was a big part of Ali's shtick to start with. And then he just refined it. I liked all the rhymes, and he backed it up. It's just he was just a special athlete. What made it special for me was how fast his hands were. To this day, I've never seen a heavyweight with those fast hands.
It's obviously some deep concern, and you work within the boxing space, and I cover a lot of football, and I'm around CTE and, the conversation, and I saw the movie and Concussion and all that stuff.
Right.
To see Ali go out this way over the last 25 years, I've said it's very Shakespearean, very live this incredible life, as you said, sort of Gorgeous George come to life on steroids, had a king's riches, fought the government, fought justice, fought race, fought all of that went on, and then was silenced in the last quarter of his life with Parkinson's, and it feels like the thing that made him famous and rich and wonderful was ultimately what cost him just about everything in the end.
Yeah, and we'll never know definitively. Certainly, a lot of blows to the head it could have brought on the Parkinson's, but there's no test to prove that. But the last few fights of his career, he was in some real wars. Certainly, the Thrill of Manila and the Larry Holmes fight at the end, and boxing's there's so many head blows in sparring, and that's always a problem. But then I look at Sugar Ray Robinson, who had 200 fights, and he was fine. And look at Floyd, had 50 fights. And it's just everybody's different, and it's just scientifically hard to explain. But it certainly Ali was robbed the last 25 years of his life.
Marc Ratner. I'm sorry, Marc Ratner joining us here from UFC. You can follow him out on Twitter, Marc Ratner UFC. What's going on in your game these days? I mean, I know you made that transition, and probably back in the day on the boxing side, you would have been shocked it came to this and that the UFC has become as wildly popular as it's been. I mean, we can't sit here and talk about Ali without talking about where boxing is and where MMA has come from.
Well, I've been with the UFC over 10 years, so it's been an unbelievable ride here. When I started, I think we numerically number our fights, and I think it was UFC number 33. July 9th will be at UFC 200, and it's just a huge thing. It's a whole week of fighting, and we have 3 nights in a row of fights. And now we just added big Brock Lesnar to our card, the WWE wrestler who is a tremendous athlete, and we'll see what he can do in the cage. So that's going to be fun. No, it's been fun. What I tell people more than anything, you don't have to compare the two sports. It's like rugby and soccer. It's 2 different games. You don't have to hate MMA to love boxing or vice versa. So I love them both.
Well, and I think most people that, especially if you're above 40, the whole thing began with boxing and liking boxing, and certainly there aren't enough Alis, right, in the boxing game at this point. Maybe some of those people aren't boxing, playing football, basketball, another sport, or they've turned to MMA, which is clearly in front of everyone at this point.
Well, you're absolutely right, and one of the heavyweights, which we haven't really had for a while, are playing basketball and football. You look at the LeBron James type, and you say, "Boy, if this guy could fight at 6'7", 260 or 6'8", I mean, you would wonder. Our best athletes they're playing football and basketball. But now there's a heavyweight champion out of Alabama named Deontay Wilder. So the sport needs heavyweights, and hopefully. This will spur more action in the boxing game.
Well, and part of, I think, what you've gone through at UFC and Dana and everybody there was getting it legalized, getting it accepted, being able to literally sanction what you want to sanction. I mean, here in Maryland, I remember when John Rollo would come in, long before Shogun Fights. We're doing a couple of cards a year here in Baltimore at the Royal Farms Arena, and, trying to get it legal, trying to explain it to people. I am very publicly, I don't get it. It's not my bag. It's not my cup of tea. But, hey, neither's NASCAR, neither's polo, neither's cricket at this point. I've gravitated toward different places in my life. I don't watch basketball as much as I did 30 years ago. I tend to like hockey and football more. So, but all that being said, it is all around me, and the heavy lifting was really in the going to governments and local municipalities, right, and getting this to be something that could be played everywhere, right?
No question. We had to go to Annapolis and meet with the legislature there. I went to state capitals. My team, it wasn't only me, but we had some lawyers with us too. And I never thought I'd be going to Richmond or Columbus, but even more so, and this has just happened in the last 6 weeks. I was in Albany in the last 7.5 years, 28 times, and which is unbelievable. And we finally got New York to approve the sport of MMA, and now we're working with the New York Athletic Commission, and we'll have a fight there at the Garden November 12th. So we're very, very bullish on that.
Mark, break that down for me. So you go to Albany 28 times. I don't even like Albany. I did see Springsteen there once at the Knickerbocker Arena. What is said and what is done in order to sway the other side on why you should be able to have fights at Madison Square Garden when you're having them in Boston, you're having them in lots of other places.
We're having them in Newark, which is 8 miles across the Hudson. It absolutely made no sense. It was a political. There was some politics played with unions here in Nevada and their sister unions in New York. Were able to stop us having the sport approved, and the assembly, after never getting a vote, we finally got a vote, and it passed. I think something like 124 to 25 or something like that. I mean, just overwhelmingly, and now we'll have our fight. So, but we just couldn't get a vote for 7 years.
Well, I've had a bunch of your fighters on. Certainly at the Super Bowl, they run around, and Luke Rockhold and I got together and actually had an adult beverage later that evening and discussed life in the UFC and why guys who played football turned to it, and where the glory and the one-on-one battle and all that. Hey, we got the Orioles in fights here, so got plenty of fights for the baseball team and the Royals as well this week. Hey, I really appreciate the Ali memories. I've always appreciated having you on. You were always real good to me on my times out in Vegas during my days back at Sporting News Radio, and I know you had a friend in Papa Joe Chevalier as well.
Yeah, may he rest in peace. Great guy, and but anytime you want to come do a fight, if we're on the East Coast, let me know, and you'll see it. It's exciting. The crowd's exciting. It's like a rock and roll concert with some fights in between.
Mark, I'm going to make a deal with you. If we can come and swab in the hallways at an event and save some lives for There Goes My Hero and delete blood cancer, I'll come to your event. So that's my ask. My ask is to get your patrons to put spit on a Q-tip so that we can save some lives. That would be my ask.
Yeah, let's see what we can do there.
All right. Well, I like that. I like partnership, Marc Ratner. Hey, it's great having you on. Really a pleasure. And I hope to see you out in Vegas sometime soon for a little rock and roll, maybe some fun and sun at the pool when it's about 112 and a dry heat out there in Sin City.
Yeah, it's still hot. All right.
Be well. Thanks, Rat. Appreciate it. There goes Marc Ratner, UFC Senior Vice President of Regulatory Affairs and long-time Las Vegas boxing employee, sage, advocate, lightning rod, all of that good stuff when all the craziness happens out there at the Diamond in the desert. You can find him out on Twitter, and thousands do at Marc Ratner. That's MarcRatner UFC out with the Ultimate Fighting Champions. All right, you can find me out in the Bahia Toyota Audio of all 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. I'll be signing copies of Purple Rain 1, Purple Rain 2 out at Black Eyed Susan in Glendon, right outside Reisterstown. Come on out and say hello on Saturday from 11:30 until 2 for Father's Day, and happy pre-Father's Day to everybody out there. We're still 10 days out on all that. And it's like the Belmont didn't even happen, right? I mean, all the stuff that happens around Father's Day. Just don't give me a parade in Pittsburgh. That's all I can ask at this point. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere you are. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it, bud.